Hey guys, and welcome to my video. If you are returning, then welcome. If you're new to my channel, then I'm so happy to have you. If you've been following my channel for long enough, you do know that I do have lock extensions, and I have officially hit my first year. So I've seen a lot change with my hair, my scalp. As you can see, my color has changed. So I'm gonna talk to you guys about some of the pros and the cons that I've seen over this first year, some things that I want to do with my hair before I do possibly completely get rid of the extensions. First thing that I always like to start off with is, why did I get lock extensions? So I've always loved the lock look, the journey behind it, but with me being a mom of two, I'm always active, I'm always busy. I didn't want the first stages of locking, which now I kind of feel like since I'm older, I can appreciate a little bit better. So looking at the journey that a lot of people take, I chose to take the shortcut route and get extensions so that way I can have more versatility in styling, being able to pull it back, not having to worry about quick and just something quick and easy for me to be able to do with my hair. And now that I've had them in for a year, which is possibly the longest that I've ever had lock extensions, I've done the style before, loved it, but I've always changed my hair within 3 to 4 months, and I've never stuck with a style actually this long. So I'm actually pretty proud of myself. But over the years, I've switched between having my hair very short, like bald, which I'm gonna attach a picture right here for you. So I normally like to have like a very short cut, nice and clean. But on the flip side, I like to do locks. I definitely feel like it suits me, it looks really good on me, and I've really gotten an understanding of how locks look, operate, and how they should be cared for, because it is a predominant service that I offer for a lot of my clients. So some things I'm gonna be covering in this video today. I'm gonna be talking about my new color, which I recently did a week or so ago. It was kind of on a whim, so it wasn't really planned. Some of the things that went well within the coloring service, and some of the things that I possibly will have to fix later on, but I'll show you guys exactly what I mean later on in the video. Doing a length check to see how much length is mine and how much is still the extension. I also want to talk to you guys about how my scalp is doing. In other videos, I have shared with my audience and people who follow my channel that I do suffer from psoriasis. And oftentimes when you have a style that is a little bit low maintenance, it can be less stressful on your scalp, but there's still going to be issues that you have that maybe goes away, or it's a little bit more subtle, or possibly causes more problems. I'm going to be really talking about the pros and the cons that I've seen over the year of having the locks, things that maybe me, even as a stylist that offers this service to my clients, I would want to let them know before they make that huge investment, because it's not cheap. If you've ever looked into lock extensions, you know that it is a pretty penny, and it doesn't stop there. Also talking about just things that is very important for you to know before you do take that step, and what I plan on doing in the future. I do want to play around with some fun colors. I want to do a little bit more of colors that are a little bit on the edge before I do possibly change up again. And then just wrapping up the video with what my plans are for my lock extensions, what fun things that I plan to do with them in the near future. Okay. So when I first started my lock extensions, I've always been a very natural person. I like to keep my extensions the same color as my natural hair color, which isn't super dark, but in pictures and photos, it can look a little bit more on the richer side. So most recently, I did color my locks for my 30th birthday, where I just did the lower half of my hair. So if you look, the locks are a little bit lighter than how they turned out when I actually did my photo shoot, which I'm gonna attach a picture right here. So as you can see, I just kept it very easy and very simple. I wanted to just play around with some color. I really didn't want to make a big mess of the situation, but I really liked the way it turned out. It was a nice subtle change that I needed for that very point in time, and I loved the look that it brought to kind of brighten up my locks. So in doing the color, this time around, I wanted to bring it up quite a bit, because when you have lock extensions, your hair is continuing to still grow, your hair is locking at the same time. So I wanted to kind of shorten that gap. So I went in, and this time I brought up the lightener. So I brought it up to probably about an inch or two from my scalp. And one thing that I really want people to pay attention to whenever you do have lock extensions and you try to color them, the extensions are going to color. And right in here, that transition is just simply so beautiful to me. But as I realized with the lightener being on my hair, and it was something that, you know, it happens, my locks and where my hair is growing, it colored my locks. And with it coloring my locks are, you know, a little bit more on the drier side. It's my natural hair, so that lightener lifted very quickly, and it brought my hair to be a little bit brighter. So it's an easy fix. At the time when I did it, I was tired. It takes a lot of work to go through your entire head by yourself and color your hair. So I'm going to go through, and if you see that my roots are a lot lighter than my natural color, so I took a color through my roots to kind of blend it down, so that's why you see this nice little blend in here. But the next time that I retwist my hair, I'm gonna go through and I'm going to do it again so I can deepen this up so it's more of a smoother transition. But overall, I really do like the lightness of the look on me. It did take a few days to get adjusted to, and when I don't have on makeup or I'm not done up, it is a little bit more of a, you know, more noticeable. But so far, I know it's gonna be getting warmer soon, so I think it's gonna look really good for the hot season that's gonna be coming up for the summertime. But it's definitely growing on me, and I really, really like it. So here's a closer look of my hair color. As you can see, my locks did go much lighter than what I expected, but it's a simple fix. I'm gonna take a darker color and just run back right over this area and blend back down to the lighter ends. You can also see my psoriasis. It's a little heavier in my crown and the back of the head. It's a little tricky to see back there when I'm not in a mirror. And this is 2 weeks later. I did go in with a deeper color. The blend is much better. You can also see my little new accessory on my locks. They're called lock sprinkles. And I love the accessory. It kind of creates like little jewels in my hair. And this is a cute little selfie that I took to kind of just, you know. So the steps that I did to color my hair this time, I lightened over the lightened pieces that I did before, and then I lightened up again, inch or two away from my scalp, and then I took a permanent hair color that was like a level 5 and bumped my roots so that way that it wasn't such a huge contrast, and I dragged it down so that way it kind of feathered into that lighter area. And I always encourage people, if you don't feel comfortable enough doing the hair color yourself, which most people don't, definitely consult in a professional that can see everything that they're doing. They can formulate for you and make sure that they're not destroying your locks, whether they're extensions or your natural locks, and your color turns out just as well as you anticipated it to. So the next thing I'm gonna cover for you guys is my length check. So oftentimes when your hair is growing, you're able to see where your hair started and where you ended. But when you have lock extensions, it's a little different. So now I gauge where the locks are falling, whether it's at bra strap length or if it's, you know, below my bust. But now what I typically do is I see how long the extensions are, and then I also see how far or how long my hair has come. So for my length, I always like to use like my front piece. And it's good that I do have this separation in color, because as you can see, my locks are much lighter than what the extension went to. So looking in here, my root starts here, and then my extension, I would probably say, ends here. So this is the length of my lock that I've gotten over the year of having these extensions. And you guys, when I started these extensions, my hair was much more shorter, but my texture of my hair is a lot more kinkier, and it definitely mats up very quickly. So the locking of my lock has actually been doing very well, and I'm able to kind of see so far. So I'm thinking in a year or so, I plan on having more length, and I'll tell you guys about my ultimate plan once, you know, we get through the rest of these topics. But as you can see, the extension is here. It took the color very, very well. So I do believe that when you are investing in lock extensions, hair quality is super important. I'm gonna cover that more later on in the video, but definitely it matters. It matters, it matters. So for here, my length is here. And then for the lock extensions, what a lot of people don't know is I typically cut off an inch every time that I retwist my hair, because whenever you wet extensions, they start to tighten down. They do get length. They do get a lot longer, and it's not mainly because your hair has grown, it's mainly because the hair is tightening down and it's causing the lock to actually stretch. So for the sake of actual length check, these locks come roughly close to right at my bra strap. And I've always liked very long locks, but I will say that when it comes to putting your hair up or sleeping or just even getting in the shower, it does require you to do a lot more of prepping. That's why I do look forward to possibly just cutting them every month, so that way they're not getting too out of hand and they're actually even and they look full at the same time. So let's talk about scalp. So if you are a person that experiences very dry scalp, or you have an itchy scalp, or you have a scalp that's very sensitive to weight or tension, I would definitely say this style can work for you, or it could be your worst nightmare. The reason why it could be a nightmare is because if your locks outweigh the density of your natural hair, it could be putting unneeded tension on your scalp. When you have unnecessary tension or pulling, or just, maybe even an allergy to the hair or the products that you're putting in your hair, it can cause a crazy irritation to your scalp, which makes it itch and flake. And because your scalp is exposed, it's something that it's very hard to disguise. So whenever I'm paying attention to the dryness of my scalp, I look to see, am I seeing flaking? Whenever I pull my hair up, do I see it around the sides and the nape of my neck? So I'm always being very mindful of what my scalp is looking like, and not to mention, how does it feel? So I know that if it's itchy, it might be very dry, it might be tight. So I would definitely say, now that I am relieving a little bit of how much I put it up or pin it up, I always like to make sure that my scalp is at the top of my priority list when it comes to keeping my locks looking good and making sure that my scalp is very, very important. I won't go too deep into it in this video, but I have made a oil concoction that has all of my favorite oils. It has essential oils, smells really good. I even melt down some shea butter so that way I can have that really locked in moisture, and it's helped my scalp tremendously. Psoriasis is an uphill battle, so it's never something that you can really completely get rid of, but it is something that if you keep it at bay, it's not gonna be a nuisance to you. But looking now, my parts, I like to keep them pretty clean. I'll do like a 2-strand twist, so that way I'm not keeping my hair so tight. But I do like to do an occasional updo from time to time, and I will give myself a limit of a week to have that in, so that way my scalp isn't screaming at the end of that week. Within this first year, there has been some pros and cons that have arisen, and I'm gonna go over all of them with you. But for the first thing I want to cover is, I want to cover the pros of having the extensions. Looking at the journey that you go through when it comes to locks, you have that stage where they're not heavy enough to weigh down, so they're all over the place, they're crazy, and you want to have the flexibility to be able to do different styles. But one thing that I can honestly appreciate about the lock journey is it's your journey. It's very different from person to person. How your locks start is not how they end. So I definitely do have an appreciation for people that start from ground zero, and I never want people to just skip over that journey as if it's not important. But one of the things that I love about me being able to have lock extensions is the long length that I instantly got. I was able to play around with hairstyles. I was able to pull my hair up. On vacation, I can go swimming and not have to worry about doing my hair right after. It did leave a nice little ease of having locks, and kind of just understanding that I don't have to worry about walking outside and the rain hitting my head or humidity outside. It's something that I felt very comfortable with or without makeup. And just being overall embracing my natural hair as I wanted to embrace it. The other thing that I love about the lock extensions are they're definitely undetectable. For me, I know that my hair texture is very dense, so when people look at my hair, they don't instantly think, oh, she has lock extensions. People who do have locks or people who are experienced with locks can possibly detect them, just because there's some little characteristics that are different from natural locks and lock extensions. But just at first glance, they're very undetectable. The weight of my hair and the merge of my extensions are almost seamless, but there's a reason for that, and that will kind of go a little bit on my con side, so I'll hold that off for you guys. But I do take a lot of time and effort to make sure that my hair is merging very nicely with the extension hair, and there's no big difference that you can see. The reason why I take so much pride in making sure that my lock extensions look really good is because it's very profitable for me. I am a walking billboard. With me being a hairstylist, I am able to talk to people about extensions because guess what? I wear them. And whenever someone compliments me on my extensions or they like how my hair is styled, it's like a segue into, hey, let me tell you about my services. These are extensions. Are you interested in them? And then that way I can direct them to my YouTube channel about how I create them, how I style them. So it's not just a, one note thing for me. It's definitely me being able to use this as an avenue and me being a good example of how they can benefit others and how they can look if you really invest and make sure that it's something that you're serious about. To piggyback on the profitable, ability to be able to offer a service that you know a lot about gives you a little bit more information to talk about. But it also allows me to shed light on other companies or other businesses that require good materials to be able to make my service work well. So we talk about hair sourcing, we talk about hair care, and I'm able to help other people be successful in their business because they help me be successful in my business. And lastly, for my pros, I would definitely say I'm gonna merge them into one: the versatility of the locks and then also the easiness. I am a mom of two. With all the COVID changes that has brought in my family, I homeschool, I work from home. I definitely understand that there's gonna be days that I don't wanna do a lot with my hair. And I noticed that it's definitely something that I've embraced with not really wearing a lot of makeup, which I'm perfectly okay with. It's just, the maintenance that I do for myself because I do my hair myself. I'm able to wash, I may not have to retwist, I can do a head wrap, I can pin it up, I can put it in a bun. I love the easiness of it. And when you have a fun color that you have in your hair, it kind of just creates that effortless look. So I love the versatility, I love the ease of it, and that in a nutshell is enough for me to make the investment in lock extensions. Want to see how my journey got started? Check out my how-to on my handmade lock extensions. Also take a look at my 2-month lock extensions and how I installed these babies. And lastly, take a look at my 6-month lock extension update and see how much it has changed since then. Before you go, make sure you subscribe to my channel for future alerts for new videos. Like and drop a comment and share on all of your favorite platforms. Let's get into those cons. So where there's all the beautiful things about the pros, there's also going to be all the things about the cons. Now, knowing both is going to definitely let you make the decision for yourself as in what you want to do. But there are some serious things that I let my clients know, and I've even let friends and family know before they actually take that plunge to get lock extensions. And a lot of people may say, really that big of an investment? It truly is. Whenever you are paying for a specialty or something that you're going to take years off of something that you want, i.e. length or the locking journey. So when you're reaching out to someone about installing lock extensions for you, there's a few things to consider. It's a very timely service. It can take up quite a few hours to make sure that the install is done properly. There are some color matching, so if your hair color is one color and you want to keep that same hair color, making sure that you find the right hair and quality hair. The hair itself is very, very expensive, whether you have them already pre-made or you have them made on the spot. That is a skill within itself. And then on top of that, the maintenance that's going to be recurring. It's not as extensive as maybe a wig install or other type of extensions, but it is something to consider. So that leads me to my first con, which would be repairs. Oftentimes you are merging a lock that is going into your natural hair, which might be a different texture from these extensions, or you're balancing between the density of your hair and then the density of the lock extension. So when you think about it, repairs can happen often if you pull your hair up, if you keep your hair very tight, or if you're not really being considerate of how you are putting tension and weight and pull on the hair. So you sometimes will have to have a repair, whether it's repairing a dent in the lock that's too weak, separation, which is your hair actually separating from the lock extension itself, which naturally will happen because it's two things that are not really meant to be together, but with time they will eventually lock. But then on top of that, the repairs can be from, you possibly not getting your hair retwisted and it's causing a strain on your scalp. So repairs are something that will keep your locks looking really good. It'll keep them looking consistent and healthy, and they won't look like they're gonna snap at any point. color matching. There is a video that I'm in the works of creating and putting together from a client that I had. She wanted to be platinum blonde, but as you know, being platinum does require a lot of work when it comes to actually getting the color looking good and being able to match it to a brand of hair that you're purchasing. The biggest thing is color is a journey within itself. So whenever you are trying to purchase a color to match to a natural hair color, oftentimes people will do the hair color all at once. They'll color their natural hair and then install, or vice versa. But always just be mindful of, if you are going to play around with color, if you do want to have that versatility with your hair, coloring your hair is very, very, very intense on your locks. Especially when you're lightening the hair to go blonde, or even if you're just doing fun colors, it is a lot on the hair. So I would say consider that it possibly could cause damage to your hair and the extensions. So just know what your game plan is so you can communicate that with whoever's going to be doing your hair so they can educate you properly on everything. Because with me being a stylist, and I do my repairs, I do my retwists, I know what my hair can handle, and I was willing to see what the extensions can handle as well. Now, did I have to do repairs after my color? Definitely. I had to do some repairs. I had to tighten some things, because whenever you put a chemical to your hair, it does soften and sometimes loosen your natural hair texture, and that can cause some more repairs and separation within your locks and your natural hair as well. So coloring and color matching can be tricky. When in doubt, just leave it natural. But if you are going to play around with color, I would say just focus on the extensions. Do not incorporate your natural hair. But that's just my opinion. It's possible, but it might be a lot of work. The next con is going to be stretching. Now, unless you have lock extensions or you have experience with extensions, you may not understand where this particular con can come from. So say you wash your hair. Your locks are like sponges. So it absorbs all this water, and then when it's time for you to retwist or you're going to style your hair, as you're palm rolling, the hair is being relieved of the water, but then you're also palm rolling to keep the shape of the hair, but then you're tightening down that hair that has kind of just been a little loose, or the hair that's kind of just been a nice fluffy piece of a lock. Now you're tightening it down, because when you first get your locks, they're nice and fluffy, and they're very airy, they're very light, but as the time goes on, they get very dense. And I will show you a picture of how full my locks were when I first started and how full they are now. But what happens is as you're palm rolling your extension, it will cause the hair to lengthen. So the length that you once had right before you washed your hair will sometimes get much longer, and that can cause your hair to look uneven. So even after you've installed your lock extensions, you love the length, you might sometimes have to do a little bit of a trim to keep everything even and not looking like a hodgepodge of different lengths. As promised, this is a quick little snippet of my video before I actually colored my head for the first time. And as you can see, the locks are much more fluffier. They were a little bit lighter. I don't have a lot of locks. I have 75, but you can tell that they've tightened down with time and maintenance. So now, since you guys know what my pros and cons were for my first year, and there's a few that I feel like I definitely will possibly touch on in another video, but for now those are my main ones that I would always want people to know. But there's also some stuff I want you guys to know before you book your appointment. And I say this because you do a lot of research. There's a lot of videos that will show you this person's experience and that person's experience, but there's always going to be this universal thing that everyone's going to tell you. And the first thing when it comes to before you book is your hair quality. Oh my gosh. If no one has told you anything, your hair quality is going to make or break your extensions install and the longevity of them. There's a lot of providers that you'll see on Amazon. There's a lot of providers that you'll see on Etsy. There's providers that you'll see on private websites. I encourage you to read the reviews. I encourage you to order a sample if you can. And I encourage you to ask for feedback. There's going to be a few sites that I link in the detail box that I personally have worked with and I love. But please, 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 please always go with 100% unprocessed human hair. And the reason why I said it is, in order for me to color my hair, and this is extensions, I had to go with a hair brand that was 100% human. You can also do a lightening test or a color test. And what that will do is it will show you if there are synthetic fibers that are within hair that is not gonna color, and that lets you know that it's not 100% human. All strands in these extensions are 100% human. And that's why I was able to get the color that I got. And of course, there's gonna be some that might have like a few here and there, but I will definitely say the brands that I've used on clients, they definitely stand the test of time, the quality and the overall look that they're looking to get. The other thing that I want you to think about before you book is what is gonna be your starting method. There's a lot of people that wanna start from scratch. They have maybe 1 or 2 inches of hair, they're ready to get started, and they'll attach lock extensions to that. Or there's people that have been locking their hair for 3+ months, and now they wanna extend the length of theirs. So definitely ask, what are your options? What are the methods of starting your locks? And also, how will that partner with your maintenance? And where maintenance is gonna be the next thing to know before you book. How often are you gonna need to come back? How often are you gonna need to touch up? Or what do you do when you need to repair? What is going to be the difference between a classic style and maybe if you want a special occasion style, and is that gonna vary in your pricing? Budgeting for your hair is just as important as budgeting for other things that you do in your life. But definitely making sure that you have the right person that you're booking with that understands that you do have lock extensions and they do know how to maintenance and care for them, so that way they're not causing more stress on your hair than what you actually need. Before you book, know your investment. Not just the investment for maintenance, but also how much are you spending for your install, for your hair, for any other things that might come up. Because once you start to spend this money, you're gonna love the results if you do everything properly. But never try to cut corners when it comes to quality, or the quality of the hair, or the quality of the work that the person's doing for you. So know your investments. And then lastly, before you book, what is your goal? Do you want to keep these extensions in just to kind of help you through the beginning phases? Do you want instant length? Do you want to play around with color and not really color your natural hair? What is going to be your end goal? And that brings me to what is going to go on with me next. So as I've wrapped up my first year, I've definitely loved the experience with my lock extensions. I haven't changed my hairstyle. The only thing I've done is spruced up the color, and I'm in love with it every single day, and it's growing on me. But in the next year or so, I might see the journey of my lock extensions come to an end. I'm gonna continue to cut off at least 1 inch every month when I do my retwist, so that way I can slowly get rid of the extensions. And a lot of people who've paid for extensions, they're like, oh my gosh, that's such a waste of money. But for me, it's a transition that I'm perfectly okay with. Once I'm done with this lock extension journey, I do not plan on keeping the locks. I might just let them go. But another year, I will embrace my natural locks, and I more than likely am gonna go back to coloring it all black, so that way there's no difference in what's going out of my scalp and what's going on with my ends. But I also, before that next year is up, I want to play around with some fashion colors. So I hope that you guys can stay tuned for watching me play around with maybe some reds, some purples, some blues. I really want to have some fun with my hair, and definitely just see, what's gonna be next. But I appreciate you guys tuning in to watch my first year lock extension update. I hope that you guys definitely take into consideration some of the information that I shared with you. If you have any questions as far as your journey and where you should start, definitely do not hesitate to drop a comment below and let me know about your lock extension journey, if you're considering getting lock extensions, or if you already have them and you want to share some hot tips for others that you've experienced so far in your journey. I will see you guys next time.